Hi everyone, my name is Erin Elizabeth Ramberg. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you are new here. Today we have a new moon in Taurus and also an eclipse. So today's tarot reading will be looking at new energies, things you can call into your life, ways that you can use the newness of this new moon to kind of think about focusing on new energy and new things you want to come into your life. And then also with an eclipse, eclipses are about fated changes. They're about things changing for us. They're about, things starting to, the wheels of fate turning in our favor. I mean, they always are, as we know, but especially you could probably feel the energy today. Okay, I have three groups for you today. You can go ahead and pick by the card you can see, the number, by the flower, anything that resonates for you. Whenever you're ready, all the timestamps are below, and I will see you at the reading that you chose. Hi everyone, welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 1. So as a reminder, this is the new moon reading, so I'll be reading the cards in that way, in terms of newness and creating new things, new, all that energy, okay? So group 1, you all picked Share the Message of Love, Daffodil, Rivers of Rivers of love flow within you, and others may benefit from this healing energy. Be mindful of each word that passes your lips. So this is really beautiful, especially if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Right now we are in spring and there are a lot of daffodils everywhere. So this is a nice little cute message of that. But yes, share the message of love. Sometimes we can get so focused up on like just wanting to be heard and wanting to say whatever we're thinking and all of that, that we don't take the extra moment to be like, is this beneficial? Is this actually helping someone? Or am I just talking? We all have the option and the opportunity and the awareness. We'll have the ability to cultivate that awareness to ask myself, like, am I treating people how I want to be treated? Am I sharing what I want to be shared with me? Right. And so this card is really just a reminder that we do have a choice of not only what we're sharing with people, but how we're sharing it. So I think if, we're coming into, again, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, into spring, into this new energy and kind of like some rebirth energy. So, just really thinking, I'm getting the feeling of like, you can think about, am I treating people how I want to be treated? Am I speaking with love and care and kindness? And obviously, of course, that never means like just letting people do whatever they want to or not having boundaries or not whatever. But there is, again, something to say for our ability to just be mindful of like, do I need to say this? Do I need to say this right now? Do I need to say it in this particular way? And just letting that energy of, making sure I'm really speaking only kindness and I do have discipline and I am controlling my tongue. All of that energy is very, very much coming out from here and just reminding us that, like our tongue is such a important tool for the way we speak, the way we interact with the world. It's just like, if we are able to really control our tongues and ourselves and just know like, okay, do I need to be saying this or am I just saying this for this like a good ego hit that feels good right now at this moment? It's very, you can control yourself in that way. Very, that's a high level of self-mastery. So yeah, just knowing that, just think about too, like if you've ever had a bad day and then you just go somewhere or, you're just not in the best mood and someone's kind to you, just like how much nicer that feels than, someone maybe being like a little abrasive with you or not as kind or not as gentle or patient. So just thinking about, we can offer that whenever we remember. So just if you want to call in some new energy with that. Okay, I'm going to look at your tarot like usual, and then we will look at your oracle cards. Okay, Hanged Man, opening your reading. 7 of Swords, Chariot, High Priestess, 6 of Swords in reverse, and Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so you have 4 major arcanas out of 6 here for you for group 1. So I feel like maybe you're going through a period of like some self-accountability here. So the Hanged Man is really about like pausing, reflecting, just getting away from this energy of like playing yourself, getting away from this energy of like, okay, maybe I have been contributing to some things in my life that isn't the best for me. And obviously, we're not talking about victim blaming here. We're not talking about like being responsible for other people's actions, but there isn't a time and a place where we do get conscious enough about things that we realize like, okay, maybe I do need to, change my behavior with this or watch myself a little bit or, anything like that. So that's attainment energy. And then 7 of Swords is about like a little bit of deception energy, it's a little bit about like, you can't take everything with you. It's time to be honest with yourself. It's time to like move forward and just realize, okay, who do I really want to be? How do I really want to move forward? What's actually coming up for me? So I feel like with this Hangman and the Seven of Swords, it really is about this energy of like, um, just being honest with like, again, ways that you want to be better within yourself. So it doesn't have to be that like you're harming anyone else, but it could just be like, the way I speak to myself, or the boundaries I have with myself, or I don't want to like react in this certain way anymore when I'm just walking through my day-to-day life, right? This is really about energy of like just taking accountability for yourself, just being ready to move forward, just kind of like letting go of these, we can always get better in life. And so sometimes if we have done a really big growth and like really let go of things that are actually super damaging and not helpful, we can think like, okay, well, what else do I need to do? And but it always is, we can continue to fine tune ourselves. We can continue to be in this place of like refinement. We can continue to be in this place of like, okay, I didn't actually need this thing that I thought I needed. It was just a leftover like protective mechanism, and now I actually am ready to move forward into this next thing in my life. And so this Hangman, Seven of Swords, I think is really, with this new moon, you can think about evaluating, what do I want to not move forward with myself? How do I want to be softer? And again, soft doesn't mean not firm in your boundaries. Soft doesn't mean you don't respect yourself. It just means, you don't need to be like punching gloves on, ready to go, boxing gloves on, ready to go, ready to fight anything or everything that comes near you. This really is energy about just really knowing that, some of these things we put up to defend ourselves don't need to be like taken forward with us all the time, everywhere we go. But we can let them go. We can move forward without them. Because I see, we have the Chariot and the High Priestess here, very, very beautiful energy. We'll start with the Chariot. The Chariot is this energy of like moving forward. Sometimes it can represent a pull between the head and the heart. And so what I'm feeling with this energy is there can be this feeling of like, well, my programmed reaction, my learned reaction, these things I did for so long over and over and over again, like might just want to come out and come like be like, okay, I know I still have to do this, I still have to act like this, I still have to whatever. But the Chariot reminds us that, when you do feel this disconnect between like, okay, but I know I want to be this type of person in my heart of hearts, I know I want to stop perpetuating this particular behavior. This Chariot card really just reminds us that like moving forward, you will feel that pull, and it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, right? Like when we grow and expand and change and become the next version of ourselves, this Chariot energy can really remind us that, moving out of our comfort zone and letting things go that felt familiar to us doesn't mean that it's just going to be like smooth sailing and like, yes, I totally know how I want to act and I'm ready for the next thing and I'm ready to just keep moving forward, right? There is this not disconnect, but there is a layer of like um we do need to like close the gap, and we do need to allow for that, like the resettling of the energy when we decide to have a new pattern in our life. So if you've been feeling like, oh, maybe this isn't the right path or I'm not doing the right thing, just know that like this disconnect of like the resettling and finding your footing and gaining some of that like the grounding and the familiarity, that's normal when you want to grow and change with all of that. And then with that is this really beautiful message. The High Priestess is really about our intuitive knowing. It's really about like letting our intuition speak to us. It's really about letting that be our guide with these things. So again, if you have some of this energy with this Chariot of like, it doesn't feel totally comfortable, it doesn't feel totally familiar, it doesn't feel like, can this be the right thing for me? Because I do feel such a huge disconnect between like my head and my heart, or between, this old pattern that feels so familiar and I want to keep doing it, right? But when you want to break the pattern, these two together is really just like, keep following that inner voice, keep following the place of like, am I acting from integrity? Am I showing up for myself in a kind way? Am I respecting myself? Am I respecting other people? Am I treating other people with integrity, right? If you're doing that, it can take time to rewrite some of these things that just were second nature to us, that maybe again aren't the most the best ways to be living, or the ways to be living with the most integrity. It can take time to rewrite those. So just knowing that if you are following your intuition, if you are following, this energy of just like, the High Priestess energy of I am moving in a way that does feel authentic to my soul, does feel like who my soul wants to grow into, even if I can't see the ending, or it might not feel the most comfortable, right? Something not feeling comfortable or familiar doesn't mean that it's the wrong choice. It just means you have to reprogram your nervous system and your body to choose that in a way that feels good for you. Because once you do that, the Six of Swords in reverse is really beautiful. And it's just a reminder that it is worth it. If I'm feeling like you feel like scared or like, well, I don't want to give up that part of me. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to lose this particular thing. This card is really just a reminder that you won't. Okay, plain and simple. I mean, upright is about mourning something and letting it go. But I feel like for group one, this is a time in your life where you really feel like it is time for you to move forward. It is time for you to move on. It is time for you to become this next version of yourself that feels so good and so pure and so healthy. And so when you do get kind of pushed into this awareness, like when you do get into this place of like leaving these things and following your intuition and kind of like upgrading into this next version of yourself, this really is not going to feel super painful or, like, and if it does, no judgment, I've been there for sure, but sorry about that. I had an interruption with my recording. Anyway, as I was saying, there are times where it is time to move on and grow from something. And we're just like, yep, okay, feels good. And even if it feels uncomfortable or we have to get our footing or there's like a learning curve, staying where we were and staying stuck in that energy feels so much less appealing than like the process of moving forward and wanting to grow and change through everything. So I think if you keep this path and you keep going on, that's what you'll find. Group one of just like, the growth that can be scary or painful or a little bit unfamiliar is nothing compared to if you stayed stuck and didn't show up for yourself and just weren't feeling the most comfortable or like, like staying in your comfort zone, staying small will feel way worse than if you go on this path to move forward and like become this next version of yourself. And then closing your reading is really beautiful. We have the Wheel of Fortune. So I feel like, there's so many times that it's up to us to begin our inner process and our inner changes. And then we see the outside world change and reflect that to us. So I think this is really saying, as you continue to move forward and these fated changes happen, especially with the eclipse that we have, this is really going to help you and just kind of remind you that you are being supported. There are forces. God does intend for you to be on your highest good, to have this really affirming, lovely path. And so Wheel of Fortune can, just be a nice compliment to the fact that you, this inner work you do will be reflected back out to you, and circumstances and things will change in your life just based on the fact that you are showing up for yourself. You are wanting to take accountability for yourself. You are ready to grow and change into this next version and layer of yourself that you haven't been before. Okay, let's look at your oracle cards. Okay, so I think this is where I was talking about happiness is my birthright. So this is what I mean in terms of like not even happiness, but just like contentment and peace, and just if you do your job and you show up for yourself and you show up in these ways that really is just like being responsible for yourself, respecting yourself, having integrity for yourself, then you like going through, there is hardship, that's definitely real, but going through these things of what I was talking about, of like staying stuck or growing out of them, that won't contribute to like things that the happiness that is you're entitled to, the peace, the contentment, all of that. So this is really saying that like, if you're in a situation where you have to be small, where you have to stay stuck, where you feel like I'm not growing and changing, that is not God's will for you. God's will for you is to grow and expand on the soul level. Well, that can definitely be painful. I've been there. I get it. Okay. It's not to punish you or to, feel like that's where I have to stay. This is like what's written for me. So just know that like growth and expansion is for your highest good, even if it feels very painful while it's happening. Because we do have the card protection, call back your power, cut the cord, soul retrieval. So again, just a reminder that this isn't to punish you. Like God does intend for us happiness. God does intend for us peace and contentment and fulfillment. And so when we are being called to move away from something or to set a boundary or to grow or change, just know that that is for something on the soul level, even if in the moment it doesn't make sense or doesn't feel good, or we want to stay in our comfort zone, we want to stay small. Just remember that, you are able to cultivate that protection and care for yourself, even if, it's not being like super reflected back to you. And so I feel like we have the guardian angel of children. I honor the precious child within me. I nourish and cherish all new beginnings. For some of us, we can just have adult, whatever age you are, energy coming up and just feeling like, okay, I need to protect that self too. But sometimes we can get nervous of like, okay, I know I have a childhood programming, or my inner child feels this fear around like abandonment or too much change too quickly or unpredictability or whatever's going on. So I think this card is just a reminder that, when we are able to move forward and we can remind ourselves like, I am safe, I am a fully resourced adult, I can trust myself to take care of myself, I know I can handle these things that are happening. Right, when we have all of those reminders, then it's a little bit easier to move forward and feel content and like we are able to do these things. So this card again is really just saying, if you really want to write some affirmations, write some love and care to your inner child, just put your hands on your heart and just, send that love and compassion to your inner child. That can help you kind of have the courage to move forward instead of feeling like, a little unsure. Because we do have the card shadow. So again, sometimes when we move forward, this is what I'm talking about. We have to face these parts of us that maybe weren't we coming from a place of the most integrity or the most alignment or whatever. No judgment. Again, it's more helpful to become aware of these patterns and release them than to act like we don't have them. Because if you're a human doing soul growth, guess what? We all have them. Okay, so shadow is really saying if you need to confront some of these things, just kind of do it with a little bit of compassion and care, and just know that these things that we don't want to look at, the sooner you look at them, the sooner you are able to get to the other side and grow and expand, and give yourself that permission to be this next version of yourself, the next person, the next layer of letting that go. And there's nothing wrong with again wanting to be accountable and wanting to look at these things that have been in your life, because then we have trust. Trust is amazing because it's one of those things that we only develop trust by practicing trust, and the only way to practice trust is to practice trust and not have control. So if you're feeling nervous, or I feel like this is the same energy of the Chariot energy and the High Priestess and this Wheel of Fortune all coming together, of just like you have to trust it's time to move forward. You have to trust the guidance that you're getting while you're moving forward, and then you have to trust that like God will take care of these outside factors that you're not in control of to be able to get there. But trust really is a reminder that we do have to practice trust by practicing trust, and that's the only way. And sometimes it can feel like, oh, am I missing something? Is something like what's going on here? It doesn't feel the best. But again, this is just a reminder that trust really can only come about when we let go and we practice trust. And it can feel very, very uncomfortable, especially if we're used to controlling everything. Hello, that's at me. I'm recovering type A, recovering controlaholic. But trusting, again, you can only practice trust by practicing trust. So just if it feels uncomfortable, again, with this Chariot energy I was talking about, it feels uncomfortable moving between like, hey, here's my baby step, but I gotta leap, then that will appear when you leap and when you start to move forward with this stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna close with one affirmation for you. I am worthy of my own love. So really beautiful. So I think, just with the theme of this reading for everyone in group 1, I'm worthy of my own love really talks about, well, two things. So first, I feel like it's this inner child card that came up of just like, you're worthy of nourishing yourself, of protecting yourself, of loving yourself, of telling yourself you're going to stay with yourself, all of that. But then I'm worthy of my own love also means, when we love ourselves, we want to be better. We want to hold ourselves to these specific standards. We want to hold ourselves to this like awareness and this we want to be better, because we know when we love something, we love ourselves. That means accountability. That means being the best person we can be. That means like really showing up and taking care of ourselves, knowing that being worthy of our own love does include being worthy of like accountability, being responsible for ourselves, living with integrity, becoming better than we were yesterday, all of that. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and happy new moon, happy eclipse, and have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, welcome. This is for everyone who's at group number 2. So as a reminder, it's a new moon eclipse reading. So I'll be reading the cards in that way in terms of new energy and things you want to bring in that way. But group 2, you guys picked the laughter card, the wildflower, uplift yourself and those around you through loving laughter. So I love this card. Laughter is such a gift to us. And I feel like for those of us who are on the journey to, have soul growth, to have soul expansion, to be in that way, sometimes, you know, we can get like, I'm doing my healing and it's really serious, and I'm expanding and it's really serious. And like, you know, we put this like, we just force it into this um box that's not lighthearted. And the truth is, like, true soul growth, true expansion does include lightheartedness, does include laughter. Now, obviously, I've been there, you know, like the times where you have to cry and it's like you're collapsing and you're like howling at the moon. Like, I've been there, so I'm not trying to talk about that, you know, minimize that experience, because that is important to grow and expand on the soul level. But laughter is definitely, um, you know, just bringing a lightheartedness to it, keeping like some light energy to some of this, some of the lessons we have to go through, the growth we have to go through, right? These changes, the ways our soul wants to expand. So this is just a message for anyone who picked this group, of just reminding you that like our laughter is, it is important to have lightheartedness. It is important to have, um, you know, just this ease with the way we're doing things, the way we're showing up, the way that we're letting our souls grow and expand, and just remembering that you don't need, like, again, if you get like so serious and so rigid and so whatever, like, it's not, it can actually be harmful. Like, you know, if you have to be so strict with yourself that you don't let yourself have fun or laugh or, you know, all that. It's just a reminder, again, laughter can be in there. And sometimes, you know, sometimes things get so bad that they become good again, right? The circle. It's like when you cry so hard you start laughing, right? Like, it's like that cycle. I feel like I'm getting that message for you too. Of just like, if you've been going through a really hard time, just remembering like things get so bad that they're good sometimes, right? Things can get so horrible and we can get so disconnected that the only thing that could be happening is like, this has to be for something good, or else why would all this be going on? So just a reminder to keep it light. If you can give yourself the gift of laughter, you can give yourself some expression, if you can give yourself some time to, you know, just not take things so seriously. So just like, can this be a joke? Can this be something I laugh at? Can there be some lightheartedness here? That will serve you on the soul level. And of course, you know, we've all been around people that are like so serious and we can't joke, we can't laugh, right? Like, can you be someone who actually does offer some of that kindness and lightheartedness, and just see the ways that just changes dynamics around you so much, you know, just like letting yourself feel some of that lightheartedness and loving laughter, you know, just our soul does want to feel some of this lightness, feel some of this freedom that comes from being free and laughing, and just, you know, not taking ourselves too seriously. Like, life's a joke, you know, at the end of the day, with everything. Okay, I'm going to start with your tarot cards like usual, and then I will go with the oracle cards. Okay, so we have Knight of Swords in reverse. Then we have the Moon, and then we have Four of Wands. Then we have the Hierophant. Then we have Five of Wands, and then we have Ace of Pentacles to close your reading. Okay, so I feel like you've had to kind of pull yourself back a little bit, group two. So this could be some of the energy I was talking about, of just feeling like taking things too seriously. So this Knight of Swords does represent, like, in the upright, it represents a lot of forward momentum. Like, I'm doing this, I'm ready to go, we're moving forward, you know. And I love this card because look at the horse. The horse is like, are you sure? Like, you sure you want to do that? So in the upright, this is kind of being like a little hasty, a little heedless, a little not super self-aware. So in the reverse, I feel like Knight of Swords is really reminding you, you know, I feel this energy of like, you had to kind of pull yourself back. So maybe it was, you know, with this laughter energy, you were like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the exact way it's going to happen, and it has to unfold this way, and it has to be this thing, right? But I feel like, you know, this is Knight of Swords in reverse. It's like, for whatever reason, maybe you had like something in physical reality blocked you, or energetically it just didn't feel like the right way to move forward, or felt like overwhelming. You're like, oh, actually, I don't really want to do that. So if you've had to pause, I think this is really reflected in the cards. And then we have the Moon. The Moon is like our subconscious. It's about connecting with ourselves. It's about letting like our intuition speak to us. So like things going on behind the scenes. So I feel like if you're in this place of, you know, you've had to kind of pull back the brakes, that's not it. Step on the brakes, pull back a little bit. Okay, then this is it really reflected here, of just like, you know, sometimes we can get a vision or get like a little bit of excitement about something, and then we just go forward like so gung-ho, so much, so I'm ready to go, that it just doesn't, you know, it can get into a place of like forcing it, and like, it has to be this way, it has to be this timing, it has to be this whatever. And this card's together is really saying like, okay, take a step back, kind of recalibrate, is this really the way it should be unfolding? Is this way that unfolding that feels authentic to me? Or was I just doing this because, I was really ego driven and really like material world driven with these things? And actually, I do need to check in with myself. I do need to check in with my subconscious. I do need to check in with, some prayer, some awareness with all of that. All of that is being reflected here of just like, taking a moment to check in with yourself, instead of like, moving forward with, and this could be in your whole life, or it could just be like in career, in a relationship, in, and anything. It's take it how it resonates. It's always up when in these readings, so they're general readings, it's always up to you to discern it how it makes the most sense for you. But just the ways that you had to like kind of pull back and be like, okay, maybe I don't need to be going 0 to 100 immediately, with everything, and kind of checking in with yourself and being like, what is the guidance? What can I hear? How can I tap into myself? Like, what's the balance I need to have here? And kind of pulling away from that, like, urgent, got to do it right now. It has to be perfect. It has to be this. It has to be that. Whereas, because in the center of your reading, we have the Four of Wands into the Hierophant. So this is really beautiful. So I feel like, to me, these two cards together, the Four of Wands is really about like, gateways into fulfillment, into this next layer of our lives. And then the Hierophant is about, kind of more traditional things. It's more about doing things like in a back to basics way, and like, a slower way, in a way that's not as like reckless and just like whatever I want, I'm just going to do it. The self-will way of doing things. So I think with these two cards, this Four of Wands is really saying, when you want to get to this next layer of your life, when you want that happiness, when you want to do that, kind of reevaluating from this pause you've taken and just looking at, okay, what are the ways I can do this in a way that does feel like, not traditional in a bad way, not traditional in a way that doesn't feel authentic to you, but traditional in a way that's like, I'm going to honor, my self-care. I'm going to honor my boundaries, or I'm going to make sure that I'm coming from a place of integrity and not just throwing all of that to the wind because I have an idea of what I want to do, and I'm going to like run forward and do it in this way. So this Four of Wands energy is really about that next gateway layer and getting to the next like level of fulfillment. And then that Hierophant energy, they're just saying, the way to do it might not be something that feels like, it can, the way that you're being guided to do it might feel different than a way you've ever done it before. It might feel like, checking in with this subconscious energy and just hearing this guidance of like, okay, well, it's time for me to do it in this particular way. And so, just really, again, like letting these back to basics, these traditional things, these, the self-care, the showing up for yourself, the honoring yourself, like in all of that, how can you incorporate those things so it's like long-term sustainable, instead of just like, again, this Knight of Swords in the upright of just like, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to make it happen, here we go, right? But since it is in the reverse, kind of taking a pause and being like, okay, how did I neglect myself? How did I, maybe cut corners in a way that I'm not super proud of or don't want to keep doing? No judgment, but just having some reflection and some awareness there to do that. And then when you do that, okay, we do have this Five of Wands. So there might be inner conflict that comes out. There might be some internal confusion. There might be, this energy of like, well, I just have this vision I want. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to keep going. And this is what feels right to me. And this is what I got to do. And this is whatever, right? But this Five of Wands is really just a reminder that when we have conflict, when we're growing, that's a good sign. Okay. Because it's like we're trying to assimilate these new energies. We're trying to get to this next layer of ourselves, this next layer of these things in our lives. And so Five of Wands is a reminder that like when we experience conflict, and it doesn't have to be, like fighting or this really intense thing, like conflict can just be like not seeing eye to eye. It could be conflict within yourself of like, well, I thought I wanted this thing, but now I want to do it this way, right? Conflict is just when we're coming up with two things that just don't match for whatever reason, and then it's time for us to kind of move through them and then choose which thing is actually the right thing for us, right? So it could be like when we're growing out of an old belief into a new belief. It could be when we used to rely on this particular thing and now we're kind of letting it go and releasing it, and now we're moving into this other place, right? So this conflict is really about or this Five of Wands is really about the conflict that comes up when we are trying to grow and expand. And sometimes when we do leave a part of ourselves behind, or we outgrow an old part of ourselves, it can really feel like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? It feels really uncomfortable. I want to fight because I'm uncomfortable. I have this discomfort. I have this this old pattern I want to go back into. But just knowing that when you feel discomfort, when you feel some of this conflict energy, it's a reminder that you are moving in the right path. And these things I'm just getting an image of like rocky ground, right? Like when you are trying to get your footing, like it's not going to feel totally smooth until you're like in a place where it feels familiar and ready to go, with all of that. Because then we have the Ace of Pentacles closing your reading, which is really beautiful. And again, just a reminder that, you will be gifted. This is like a new seed, a new idea. Pentacles are about abundance, sometimes physical abundance, but of course, abundance is not just physical reality. And so this Ace of Pentacles, I feel like as you're going through this process, you're going to be gifted little seeds of like, it's a breadcrumb, like this is the way to go, this is what actually feels authentic to you, this is the way your soul wants you to move forward. And so trusting those seeds of authenticity and trusting this little guidance will get you there. And then like this is really beautiful too. You see the gateway there, the Ace of Pentacles. It's like you go through that little gateway and then you're going to get to like this next layer. See some of the same flora is up there. So I feel like this is really going to guide you to this next way you want to be. So with this new moon, you can really think about, how can I be a little more lighthearted? How can I trust myself? How can I not try to like this? I feel like this is also representative of trying too hard to make everything happen all at once. So how can you kind of just like step back and watch it unfold? How can you just let it be a process that's unfolding? How can you just let it be something that's existing on its own terms, its own time and place, without you trying like again to like control every single thing, or be like, oh, I got this one little thing in my mind, so now I know it has to be 100% exactly like this. But it doesn't have to be that way. And just trusting that again these little things to carry you along the way, with that Ace of Pentacles energy. Okay, let's look at your oracle cards. Okay, so just going with this laughter card that we had, play. So I think group 2, I think big message for you guys is you are taking yourselves way too seriously. Okay, could be like the plan that you have for your life, you're taking way too seriously. Your day-to-day life, you're taking way too seriously. How you interact with yourself, you're taking way too seriously. This is just playful energy, I think, because there's 2 dolphins on here, like really connecting to people that are lighthearted and fun and remind you of like the ease and like, the jokiness of life. There is a time and a place to be serious and, all that, but there's definitely a time and a place to play and have fun and just be, I consider myself and have met many people who are very serious about things in life, but have like a lightness and a lighthearted energy about it. And so I feel like that's really being resonated with again with this laughter and this play of just like, if you were trying so hard to make something happen, or like, just being so rigid in it that it actually blocks us when we try to be too in the mind about it. And actually, we get some of our best guidance when we are playing, when we are laughing, when we are just smiling. If you want to walk and you see some nature that you like, or, you're just like connecting to just letting something be lighthearted and fun, is like when the best messages come through for us, because we have tapped into this lighthearted, playful energy instead of like, this is so serious and I have to be so serious, I have to be whatever. So group 2, this is big new moon vibes for you guys, is big playfulness, big lightheartedness, just a lot of knowing it's safe to do that, it's okay to do that. You will enrich your life when you let yourself play and have fun and be free, like instead of like, this is so serious, I have to do this, I have to like get ready to go, with all of this. And okay, well, going along with that, we have the Angel Prince of the South. I pull this card all the time. I let go of all pain and tension as I float in the sea of divine love. So again, I feel like, this doesn't have to, I'm not talking about spiritually bypassing. I'm not talking about pretending like you don't feel deep emotion if you don't feel it, but the pain and tension can sometimes, when we are too serious, when we are gripping too tight, we can't just like laugh at ourselves or make a joke about ourselves, or just be like, yeah, this is a really horrible thing happened to me. And like, it's the saying, tragedy plus time equals comedy, right? And so again, not trying to minimize or make fun of or whatever if you're going through this, but I think group 2, just what I see in the cards and the energy I'm tapping into is like you can let yourself lighten up a little bit about certain things that have happened or have been happening. And just remembering, again, it's all part of being in the sea of divine love, and like just not, not making it be as just really rigid and intense and not fun and like just letting go of some of that energy is really, really, really being reflected for you for group 2. So I think, with this new moon, if you want to journal about like, what are some ways that I can bring more laughter and joy into my life? And it doesn't have to be about a particular situation. It can just be like, how can I just laugh? Like, how can I go in nature and then like watch a squirrel like roll around, and then like, can I let that be funny? Can I let like, certain things be funny? Can I laugh? Can I find joy amidst things? Like, can I give myself permission to do that? And that will just kind of radiate into these other areas of in your life, and you won't take things too seriously. Because we do have, I find, a deeper meaning and personal growth amid the discomfort. So I feel like, again, it's always up to you to discern your own spiritual lessons and situations and things that are going on for you. But just based on this reading, I think the deeper meaning here is like I was talking about that circle, like, you cry so hard, you laugh so hard, you cry, things are so bad, they become good, right? The deeper meaning can just be like, again, some of that lightheartedness and some of the ways that you give yourself permission to a deeper meaning can just be like, okay, it's not so serious. I don't have to take myself so seriously. It's not the end of the world, even if I think it is. And again, not minimizing things, but just it takes a lot of self-mastery and a lot of self-awareness to be able to kind of like know these things within ourselves, and then welcome that, that lightheartedness that, we've all been around people who really embody lightheartedness no matter what's going on. And it just feels, so wonderful and just so freeing, and it just gives us permission to just exist in a way that's like, oh yeah, okay, I can do this, like that's fine, it's just life, just life. And then these two cards go together. We have you're ready and you're already doing it. Stop overthinking, keep facing your true north. So I think both of these together are really talking about sometimes, we feel like we need to be in this absolute right and perfect. You never feel 100% ready is basically what I'm trying to say. So these two cards together are really saying to me, like, you are ready. You're already doing it also means like what I was talking about with this 5 of Wands conflict card. Like if we're like, well, why the way would be easier if this was the way, or there would be no obstacles, or this thing wouldn't be happening for me if this was the way. But the truth is, like, these things come up, and conflict does come up when we do try new things, when we do try to grow and expand and be different, right? It feels uncomfortable when we do something that's not familiar to us, no matter how much we say we want it. And so these two cards, you're ready and you're already doing it, are just a reminder that like you're never going to feel 100% ready. You're never going to feel like total self-mastery, like until it's done, So it's like so many things, like we think we're doing it, we think we're on the right path, and then we don't actually feel totally like, oh yeah, I did that, until it's done, right? And so you're ready, you're already doing it. It's just a reminder that like walking the path is the path, that is part of the lesson, that is part of making it happen, that is part of, all these things we have to go through to be able to get that. So if you're in this energy of like, I don't know if I can do it, I don't know what's going on, right? Just doing one step at a time, one thing at a time, that is making it happen, that is doing it, that is being ready. Instead of waiting to feel 100% ready, or waiting to feel like, oh my God, I'm still waiting for confirmation that this is, what's been going on or what's been happening for me. But the truth is, you are ready, you're already doing it, you're already showing up, and just letting that be enough, instead of, waiting for this exact moment to feel like, I can't, I have to wait until then, right? That's not how things go. Okay, I'm gonna pick one affirmation. What's one affirmation for you for group 2? Close your reading. Got like 8 million. See that. Okay, I welcome miracles into my life. Okay, so beautiful. So again, so I feel like this is just the miracle of remembering like lightheartedness, of laughter, of like, when we can't access just joy, of just, even if it's just one moment of just like seeing like a bird fly by and smiling, just welcoming that miracle into your life, letting life love you, letting God's love pour into your heart and show up for you and take care of you. That really is, a miracle. So just something as small as that, as small as that, as kind as that, I think is really, just focusing on that. So just I welcome miracles into my life. I let my heart be changed. I let myself connect to lightheartedness. All of that is will do wonders for your life, even if it doesn't seem like it to the ego. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all of that is linked below. Thank you so much. Happy new moon, happy eclipse, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, welcome to everyone who picked group number 3. So as a reminder, this is a new moon reading and eclipse, so we'll be reading the cards in that way, trying to get some nice little messages for you. But for group 3, you all pick the card balance, work, rest, and play, the yellow rose. It's important for you to have fun along with fulfilling your responsibilities. I mean, yeah, that's good advice always in life, but I feel like if you, in particular, if you all pick group 3, it's a reminder that some part of your soul is really knowing that there isn't a balance between work, rest, and play in your life. There are times, of course, where we do need to be focused a little bit more on working or a little bit more on resting or a little bit more on playing. But in general, having a good balance, having a flow between these 3 is important for our own well-being, our own mental stability, all of that. And, especially I think for us sensitive people out there, and especially what this card says, it's important for you to have fun along with fulfilling your responsibilities. Sometimes we forget to be lighthearted, sometimes we forget to enjoy ourselves, sometimes we forget to give ourselves permission to just lighten up and enjoy life and laugh and take care of ourselves and do self-care and have fun and play and all of these things while we are working towards our dreams, while we're sometimes we can get really serious of I'm healing. I'm doing my healing now, and it's very serious. So I think not another message is making sure you have time for all 3 of these things, but just allowing the energy between those to flow a little bit more. So can you be a little more playful with your rest and your work? Can your work be a little more restful and a little more playful? Can you rest while you're working and playing too, just kind of letting these things, not having them be so rigid is another message I'm getting, and just kind of letting it flow and just let it be a little more about letting these things all flow into each other instead of just choosing oh, it has to be this one specific way, it has to be this one specific thing, and that's it. But it's well, can you, sometimes it's we compartmentalize, okay, I'm playing now, so it's very this, and I'm working now, so it's very this, and I'm resting now, so it's very this. And again, there is a time and a place for that, but it's part of just a reminder of making sure you're letting all those things exist and you're giving time for all of them. And then also, you're not as rigid or letting work be, this end all be all very serious. I can't think about anything except work. I can't have any fun except work type of energy. So for group 3 with this new moon, if you just want to tap in and think about, some of the ways that you can give yourself permission to enjoy life a little bit more, you can give yourself permission to, have some playfulness while you are being responsible, doing some of these adult or 3D reality of things that we all have to do to be here. I get it. It's part of life, but can there be playfulness? Can there be some lightheartedness there as well? Okay, I'm going to start with your tarot and then look at your oracle cards like usual. So opening with the Queen of Wands. Love her. Love to see her. 2 of Swords in reverse. 8 of Swords. 10 of Swords. Oh my God. The Empress. And the Hermit. Wow. Okay, so we got 3 major arcanas and 3 swords. And I really love to see the 8 of Swords and the 10 of Swords, right? Very intense energy. So I feel like you might be an air sign if you pick this, because we got 3 swords cards here. If not, don't worry about it. But this is heavy air sign energy. And we have the Queen of Wands, Empress, and the Hermit. Okay, so I mean, I feel like just going on with this theme of balancing work, rest, and play. I feel like there was this facade you were putting out to the earth, to the world, to maybe it could be about your job, it could be in your personal life, it could be in your relationship, but there was just this facade you were putting out, this imagery of yes, I have it all together. Look at me, I'm calm, cool, collected. I'm this Queen of Wands. I have regardless of your gender, it's this queen energy, but I have this I know who I am and everything's together and here we go and here's what's going on, here's all of this. And then it eventually got to the point where you can't like lie about it anymore. Two of Swords in the upright is about indecision, it's about learned helplessness. But in the reverse, it's like just some clarity of you can't pretend things are a way that they're not. You can't hide anymore. You can't like be indecisive about certain things. And so I feel like these two together is really about, this facade of who you were upholding, or this mask you were putting to the world kind of came down. And it could be around maybe you were burned out from work, maybe you were in a career path that's not working for you, maybe you got too serious in your life and it's not working out, but something was going on where, just this facade of like, I can't pretend anymore. I can't pretend this is working for me. I can't pretend this is who I am. I can't pretend this is something that feels good or natural for me. That kind of all just, came crumbling down, or maybe you're in it right now, or it just started to like, I'm just giving you an image of like peeking through the cracks of just like it just maybe you're just in that phase right now of like, okay, this actually isn't sustainable for me, or maybe this is something that happened in the past and you're still dealing with it emotionally. But just this energy of like you can't keep up this facade that, maybe there's lots of reasons why we do this, and it's not because you're bad or stupid. It's just, we do the best we think we can, and a lot of it is like our subconscious programming of things running things for us. So maybe it was just this energy of, you did that because you thought this will give me safety, this will give me protection, this will give me peace, this will give me whatever thing, that we all do, we all chase certain things. And so maybe, you thought, okay, well, if I have like this facade going and I'm calm, cool, and collected, and I'm girl boss, and I'm this and I'm that, then, everything will be fine. But we can't run away from ourselves. We can't pretend like these things we're ignoring within ourselves just go away automatically. It's up to us to show up for ourselves, to show up in a way that is authentic and is honoring what's going on in there. Because again, moving along with that, this Eight of Swords to the Ten of Swords, I feel like this is again another card of learned helplessness, a card of like, oh no, I can't do this anymore, this is like what's happening to me. Just like a lot of things piling up, and like kind of head in the sand energy, not wanting to look at it, not wanting to deal with it until Ten of Swords comes, and what the hell, how did I get here? How did this happen? Okay, so this is really energy of like I can ignore this is fine, nothing's happening, and then you can't ignore it anymore. So I feel like group 3, maybe there's some burnout energy here, maybe there's just a thing where again you're at the end of your rope, you cannot keep going in this way, it's not sustainable, it doesn't feel good, it's not helpful for you or anyone else involved. But this very clear energy of like ignoring the signs, ignoring your own intuition, ignoring your self-care, ignoring the ways that you do need to show up for yourself, to give yourself some affirming energy, some awareness, some ability to sometimes if we've gone through hard things in life, like we wait for things to change until they become unbearable, or until we literally can't take it anymore, or it just gets to the point where it's like too toxic, and then we finally like are ready to be like, okay, it's time to do something different, right? But this Ten of Swords and then the Ten of Swords is when it has all piled up, and then you're like, oh my god, now I'm going to do something because things got really bad, right? But so I think for you in group 3, you can start to think about with this process, like, what are my non-negotiables? When do I know things are getting out of control? What are lessons I've learned already in my life that show me, okay, when this and this happens, that means it's time for me to start paying more attention to myself, to set some more boundaries, to get more clear, like I'm on the edge of things not working out for me, or things not going the best for me, right? So this energy is really about honoring, the ways that you need to show up for yourself, so you don't just like completely get to this huge burnout. And so again, like maybe you're not in this energy, I feel like you kind of are, because it's pretty clear, but maybe if you're not in there completely, you can reflect on a time in your life where that happened to me with this new moon, just be like, okay, these are my non-negotiables, these are my boundaries, these are the ways that I know I need to show up for myself. Or when my internal process starts to look like whatever this particular thing, then I know I need to have better boundaries for myself, I need to say no more, I need to be more clear in what I'm allowing into my life. So that energy is really reflected here of just like, this burnout, and it's like, wow, I excused away things I saw that were red flags, and we know true growth comes when like our red flags become non-negotiables, right? Like these things that, well, maybe I could be chill, I could be cool, I could deal with that, but then eventually it's like, nope, I see that and I'm out. Like I can't do this. This isn't something that works for me anymore. I'm not available for that anymore. Is definitely here, because from that I hear, this Empress energy is like, God doesn't want you to be like this. God does not want you to be struggling and sacrificing yourself and just at the end of your wits, and just this energy of like, you know, you're not supposed to be living burnout, day to day, barely alive moments. You're supposed to feel rejuvenated and full and complete. And obviously, again, there's cycles in life where that's not possible to feel totally amazing all the time, but there is definitely something to be said if that's like our perpetual state of being and we think, okay, this is as good as it gets. So I feel like this Empress is really saying in your heart, that this is who you're supposed to be, again, regardless of your gender, but just this Empress energy of like, you are supposed to show up, you are supposed to feel fulfilled, loving, connected to yourself. This is like really creation energy. This is very just owning who you are, very powerful, and not in like a way that's like harmful to other people, but powerful and like, I know who I am, I'm clear. This is like goddess energy, very fertile energy, just a lot of creativity, a lot of flow energy moving through you, and just getting like a lot of images of water with this. But so I feel like, this is who you are, and so you want to regain that balance. And I feel like a way you can do that is with this Hermit. I love the Hermit, but it is about going inward, right? The Hermit knows that, I love the star and the little lamp guiding us. The Hermit knows we're following the North Star. The Hermit knows we're following our intuition. The Hermit knows God did not abandon us. And sometimes it does take us going inward and reconnecting to that to feel like, oh yeah, I do know what I need to do. I do know how I need to show up. I do know, these things that aren't working out for me that I'm pretending like are working out for me, with all of that. So again, this Hermit energy is really just reminding us that to reconnect to these things, we do have to go inward. And especially like, I'm just hearing so much about like, get clear about your non-negotiables, get clear about things that don't work for you, get clear about, these are things I do not want to allow in my life. These are the boundaries I know I need to have based on things I've gone through. And again, not judging you. We've all been there. I've been there. We've all acted in ways that, looking back can be like, wow, I can't believe I did that. But, we do the best we can with what we know. And so this is really saying, to reconnect to that power, to reconnect to how we can protect that and embody that and allow that into our lives. It really is going to take, this Hermit energy of turning inward and connecting to ourselves and just feeling, just going inward and just really sitting with ourselves, seeing what comes up, not running away from ourselves, allowing these things to flow through us is really going to be part of, again, allowing that energy, allowing ourselves to feel connected to that in that way. And then again, just having more clarity around how can I balance work, rest, and play? Because when you do that, then it is so much easier to embody this Empress energy. If you want a life with ease, you have to have very strong boundaries. You have to be very clear about what you will allow, what you will not allow, what feels good, what feels bad, all that. So ease just doesn't come. It comes from having this structure, from having these boundaries, from having these very clear, like, this works for me, this doesn't work for me, right? That's what we need to get very clear about that. And look at this. This is your first oracle card again. Angel of discernment. Through the grace of the divine, I am able to know the right path. So exactly what I'm just talking about, right? Like everyone is different for everyone. Everyone's discernment looks different. Everyone's boundaries are different. Everyone's limits are different. But you have to discern and decide for yourself, what is my boundary? What can I do? So this is my boundaries around work. This is my boundaries around rest. This is my boundaries around play. And again, when you have this discernment, that is what leads you to connect to this abundant, full energy, right? So not just like, oh, let's just see what happens, or this is whatever, right? But this is, really using that discernment to be able to know what works for you, and what doesn't work for you. And then we have next right into the Alchemist. So again, I feel like if you're someone who grew up or hasn't practiced very clear boundaries in your life, no judgment, again, some of these things take very long time to learn, and we don't know some of the things we have to unlearn until it's time to unlearn them. But the Alchemist can very much is just a good reminder that you are able to transmute and have these different boundaries and use your discernment to change who you are, change how you're showing up, change these things in your life without, you don't have to, you're not stuck to be this certain way. This learned helplessness isn't who you are. This total burnout isn't how you are, right? You do have this ability to really use your inner power and your inner strength to change things, to have them be different, to allow all of this to move through you in a way that, you can be different. We can change, we can recover, we can have different boundaries, we can have different things going on for us than what we previously did in the past. And then going along with that, we have break the chain, ancestral patterns, healing and rewriting the future. So again, I feel like maybe this is some things like, maybe you grew up around like a workaholic family, or you got messages that like, play isn't allowed. I need to be really serious about my life, right? So maybe the chains that you're breaking are things not just from your own life, but patterns in your family that you grew up around, or things that you internalize from society that just don't work, and just you don't want to be part of your life anymore. So break the chain is really, about rewriting the futures on here. So just remembering that you get to discern what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And it can be uncomfortable, but again, it's not as uncomfortable as this, right? This is not the place any of us want to be. So just remembering that, rewriting the future is important, and does come from your actions and how you show up and do those things in your day-to-day life. Because then we do have take action. I mean, I feel like all these oracle cards always go together, but this group in particular is very, very flowing, group 3. So take action is very much about, again, using your discernment. And then, so it's not just having this thought like, oh, I need to rebalance my work, my rest of my play. This is really about, what boundaries do I need to set? What changes do I need to make in my life? So with this new moon, this is energy of, what do you need to do differently that you haven't been doing? So taking action, not just thinking like, oh, I need to be different in this way, right? Like, what action do you actually need to take? It could just be changing your inner dialogue. It could be setting a boundary with someone or something, right? But just knowing that, our life gets better when, again, we have this structure that comes from having boundaries versus, when we get a little bit more focused on, it's like, I'm going with the flow, anything can happen, right? People, it seems counterintuitive, but people who do have the most ease in their life tend to have the strongest boundaries and the most clarity around what they will allow or not allow into their life and their space. So that does come from taking action. That does come from, could just be journaling and knowing within yourself, like, this is something I will allow, this is something I will not allow, and then acting accordingly based on that, instead of just waiting for things to get better, being like, okay, well, I need to have more fun in my life. So, okay, well, what are you going to do to do that? Just making that action. And then just closing this one's really nice affirmation. I recognize that I have chosen fear and I choose again, I choose love. So again, just really, sometimes we are fearful to set boundaries, or sometimes we feel like, oh no, I can't balance these things in my life because I'll miss out on this certain thing, or this other thing won't work out for me, or it'll be whatever. But when we come from that fearful place to not take action, that actually harms us than when we do set boundaries. Because again, group 3, I don't know your story, I don't know your life, but if this is in here, if you got from this place, this is coming from a place of like, that feels bad. That feels worse long term than like the temporary discomfort of learning what it feels like to set boundaries, and learning what it feels like to trust yourself, and learning what it feels like to prioritize yourself over someone's or something's response to your boundary. So just remember that, okay, I didn't do this because I was fearful, but I can let that go, and I can instead choose love. I can choose to respect myself. I can choose, maybe and just even listening to the fear story. Maybe the fear story is like, I'm afraid I'll miss what's for me if I set a boundary. I'm afraid that, I won't be taken care of if I set this boundary. And just remember that God is not like that. God is loving and kind and compassionate and protecting and our friend. And so if you really believe all of that is true, then like listening to this guidance around setting these boundaries, around finding the balance you want to have in your life, right? That will help you do that, and coming from a place of trust instead of like, well, I need to control this, or it has to be this particular way, to do all of that. And just again, I just want to say, make it very clear, your boundaries have to come from a place of integrity within yourself. They have to come from a place of like good intention, not like I'm setting this boundary so I can control this person, or I'm setting this boundary so I can control this thing, right? If your boundaries are coming from a place of like, this is what works for me and this is for my highest good and this is what I can feel in my heart is the right boundary to set regardless of whatever outcome happens, that's way more that's the energy you want to act from, not like I'm setting this boundary so I can show these people this, right? You want to focus on you and coming from that place of integrity within yourself when you focus on finding this balance. Okay, so group 3, I mean, kind of an intense reading, but I think with this new moon, you can really ask yourself, like, you know, what are the boundaries I do need to set? How have I been neglecting myself? When I think of myself as like this really amazing, flowing, abundant being who is here to be of service and give back to the world and do my part, like what is out of alignment with that in my life? What doesn't feel like that's serving me in those ways? Okay, and then acting from that place, you know, using that new moon energy to be able to do that. Okay, I'm going to close with one affirmation card for you guys. I'm loved and supported by life. So again, very beautiful. Just a reminder that like what I was talking about, like with this fear card, you don't need to be fearful for protecting yourself, for standing up for yourself, for having integrity, for wanting to maintain your energy and your peace with that. So I'm loved and supported by life. They also say I'm loved and supported by God. You know, what feels good for you with that. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much. Happy new moon, happy eclipse, and I hope you have a wonderful day.